back stateside for the first time in 5 years. How important are these tours for the club?
Yeah, so first time back in the States since 2019. As you said, 5 years, and we had a tremendous experience. We were here the last time, expecting a similar great experience this time, and playing in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Columbia, South Carolina. I think from an overall club perspective, the opportunity is first and foremost about the team getting the opportunity to get in shape and continue the fitness and get their fitness up, as Arne said. But it's also an opportunity for us to bring the club out to our supporters. It's the only time we have the opportunity to get outside of the UK or Europe, and so it's a chance for us to engage with our supporters around the world. And in this case, having spent the last 2 summers going to Asia, it felt like the right time to come back to North America.
Of course. A lot has changed in 5 years. New manager, new era with Arne Slot. It's a new era for us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's absolutely right. It is a new era, and a tremendous era that we've just finished, but an exciting one that we're just starting. And I think the kind of changes that we've seen over the course of the last several months, and the transition really from obviously Jurgen making his announcement, and then departing, and ultimately Arne coming in, Richard Hughes coming in as the new sporting director, Michael Edwards obviously being back as part of FSG football. So yeah, it's been a lot of changes, but in this case, all really positive, and something we're incredibly excited about as we look towards the future.
You've obviously had personal interactions with Arne. How has he been settling into the club, in your opinion?
So far, so good. I mean, it's obviously any time you come from one club to another, there's always going to be tremendous changes. And in this case, coming from one league to another, so there's another significant change. I think the challenge that he has in this case, obviously, given the fact that we've got a number of tournaments going on over the course of this summer, means that the players are coming back, sort of trickling back in, as opposed to everybody being back on sort of day one. So that's a challenge, of course. But I think overall, it's really been about sort of getting settled, and the time I've spent with him, I'm really excited about the future. So look forward to it.
I mean, you touched on it just there. How these pre-season tours help underline Liverpool's global support. Do you think this is a good introduction for Arne to actually witness that? A lot of people come into Liverpool and they say, never realised until I went to Singapore, went to Asia, didn't realise how big the club was.
Yeah, I think it's always, I think sometimes, particularly when, all of the football principally that we play is in the UK or in Europe. And so I think getting out to other markets around the world does give you that real experience of how big the club is. And the ability to travel into a market like Pittsburgh or Philadelphia or South Carolina and go into a massive stadiums like we're playing in front of these crowds is going to be something that I think is always a bit of an eye opener. But I think in particular it does give you that sense, and in a sense also the responsibility of working at and representing a truly global club, and how important it is that we get the opportunity to try and engage with our supporters around the world whenever we can, because we recognize that not everybody's going to get the chance to come to Liverpool and come to Anfield.
Now, Liverpool is a global club, but we're owned by Fenway, and they were in discussions with purchasing Bordeaux, and they made statements there. What are the next steps in the process to purchase further clubs?
Yeah, I think it's really going to be down to a case-by-case basis. I mean, in this case, obviously the Bordeaux situation, to use an overused line, is what it is. And I wouldn't say anything other than the statements that have put out from FSG. But I think in this case, obviously, we're here as Liverpool Football Club, and anything that happens from an FSG football standpoint is going to be separate and distinct from Liverpool, obviously.
So we've almost finished the expansion of the Anfield Road now. For those supporters who are eager to find out about further expansion, what would your message there be?
Yeah, so we've gone through obviously a situation over the course of the last year or so with the expansion of the stand, where we've run into a number of different challenges. Everybody's well aware of that, and we appreciate everybody's patience over the course of this past season, and ultimately getting to a place where by the end of the season we were, as you said, almost fully operational. We will be fully operational as the season begins, which is exciting, and really at this point there's no plans to continue expansion at Anfield. We will look as we continue to life cycle improvements, and always looking at how we can improve the fan and supporter experience, whether that be inside or outside the ground, but there's no major plans for further expansion at this point.
Okay, now the last time we saw you was at Jurgen's departure announcement. Reflecting on that now and how things have played out, how big of a moment do you think that was in the club's history?
Yeah, obviously it was a huge moment, and a real. I have a great relationship with Jurgen, both personally and professionally. And as we said at the time, it was a decision that was the right decision for him. And so by extension, that means it's the right decision for all of us. And I think actually, one of the things that was terrific about Jurgen, he was direct, always direct, and very forthright. And I think people can appreciate that what he said in that press conference in January, there was no wavering, he continued throughout. And so I think it was obviously a huge moment, but at the same time, it also gave us the opportunity to go through the transition that we've talked about. And that's a credit to Jurgen, that we had that time in order to, for Michael to come back, for Richard to come in, for Arne to come in, and to reset, in a sense, and start this new era, rather than having been sort of rushed and doing that in May or June. We had the opportunity to really do it and do it the right way. And so, a seismic moment, obviously, but one that I think ultimately was handled, in my opinion anyway, was handled as well as we possibly could have. And now, as we said earlier, incredibly excited about this new era and the direction that we're headed.
Final question, and thanks for touching on Michael there, the new appointment of Michael Edwards. Can you explain a little bit more about the new structure there with FSG, with Michael Edwards, sporting director, etc., with Richard?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately probably wouldn't say much more than what Mike Gordon said when Michael came back. I think obviously Michael has great history with the club, and we've enjoyed tremendous success. A lot of the work that he did when he was here at the club in terms of the recruitment and working so closely with Jurgen at the time, and so he knows better than anybody the responsibility that comes with the football operations side at Liverpool. And I think you can see, given the process that was conducted in terms of bringing Richard in terms of bringing Arne in, and that new sort of era as we talked about, but also his ability with FSG football to explore whatever the future might hold as it relates to that. So incredibly excited to have him back, and I think that as we point toward this new era, we'll continue to see him involved. And I think important to emphasize that Richard, as a sporting director, will be working closely with Arne to make sure that as we make those decisions going into next season in terms of squad, et cetera, that those two are going to be vital in terms of ultimately working with Michael as well.